Hello and welcome. Today is Wednesday, the 28th day of June, 2017. Welcome. My name is Derek. Let's take a look at some cryptocurrencies. If you want more information, follow me at Steemit. The information in the more information box where I'll go through different buy orders, different buy setups, why I'm buying, any other things of that nature, and also different types of essays regarding, of course, cryptocurrency investing and trading and such to be followed in the next days and weeks, basically. All right, then any information, you assume your own risk and own reward and anything that is done. Let's go over this analysis. We got this pattern where we've been making some higher lows, and we're also noticing what could be a pattern of lower highs. It's a pattern or a situation of indecision, neutrality, which is also in such for that as well. I'm sure a lot of other people are probably talking about this trend line, and it may look a little different on a linear format, but quite frankly, that's the upward trend. That's the downward trend. If we put just a regular rectangular box, this is the neutrality setting. So anything within the band right now is neutral within neutrality within a major uptrend. And that's oftentimes within these sideways corrections. Oftentimes they resolve themselves within its current trend, within the path of least resistance. And in this case, it is higher. When you're up in this area of this point in here, 27 high, 28s, then you're in those correctionary zones still, but it's looking to break, and then you can make the same thing, really breaking down below this support level, 23 low, 23.25 and lower. You could have to get concerned that not only will you have a test of this level, but as I've been talking about, this previous market at 18 and a change. And of course, in the situation when it actually does break these resistance area points, like many cryptos, you can have substantial gains, decent sized green candles that can occur. So let's move on to the next time frame. And that would be the 4-hour, which basically shows the entire sideways range. And within the most recent period, very much a productive situation so far on a bullish level, as it has since really piercing below, but you know what, that's a matching low, to be able to have a green candle up, a nice big one in here that gets above the 18 average band. And since that top, 3 candles, 3 periods in which it was able to establish some support really near this level of resistance. And now just recently we can see it's making a nice little breakout pattern above what's really this established resistance area field. So if you see price action holding and staying above 25.80 for more than, well, basically for the next few hours, then that's going to be a really good sign that we're going to at least have a move into the 27s. But it could just have a fast move up there as well. Sometimes if you just see it for the first time in at 25.90, 25.60 in a situation like this, it is a good long candidate. Let's move on. And we'll show Ethereum on the exact same time frame, priced in dollars as well. And we can see a very similar pattern, but it's already broken its resistance point. Let's bring her up on the screen now. There we have her. And there we have a situation where it only consolidated for 2 periods. So this was the consolidation for Bitcoin, but it's already broken past this point. So in a situation like this, if I see this, I'm looking for a move to 61.8%. And just to calculate it pretty quickly, what does the high look like to me? Well, that looks around 414-ish. And it doesn't matter in my calculator what I put in, if it's high or low first. I made this very quickly. If you're interested in the formulas for how this is done, let me know. The lows, that looks about 205, I would guess, 205. Which gives the key numbers in at 268 and 317. So therefore, where does 268 and 317 translate? Well, 68 was this little area in here that has obviously just blasted through this point, supporting it a little bit. So most certainly I would expect a move up to about 317 within this rally. So if you're short-term playing this and you're long, you're like, why do I sell now when I can sell up here? That's basically a one way in which I'd be looking at it as far as, okay, where's a sell target now breaking there? And the answer for me would be 317. Moving on to the daily, one of the things I don't talk about much is failed move, fast moves, at least the typical ones that the gold, silver, many stock markets, the Forex markets are so commonly used to seeing within a pattern that could be playing out. And what that is a situation when you, well, let's just draw it in and you probably can see it right now as it is. So here's that sideways range. If you have a situation where you're in a correctionary move, I mean, anything of these types of natures, and you have this pattern where it breaks below like this, but it regains quickly. Now it's still barely at the lower end, meaning if into the next couple days, even obviously even today, if this thing just keeps moving to the upside, watch out for how big this could go, because oftentimes from a failed move can result in a fast move in the opposite direction. And this is what it would be like on the contrary when, of course, you're reversing trend. There's a situation where it supported its big move, it corrects the band, falters through, establishes a level of support, that's the establishment right there, makes a move back to the band. If this thing ends up resisting and then starts to roll over, well, that's the simple variant of reversal of trend. And failed move, fast moves, well, the failed move, the move was, hey, I'm Ethereum, I want to revert the trend to the downside. And if it doesn't, oh, you failed, there's the fast move. So that's how I think of it in that level there. Let's move on to the cross with Bitcoin. And it showed that exact same pattern where we got the sideways range in here, and then, of course, this point. Exact same on both levels, either the failed breakdown, I'm trying to revert trend, or and yeah, it's either going to successfully do so or fail on that attempt. And let's move on to the next one. That will be Litecoin on the daily time frame. Pattern recognition. This is what I recognize. I recognize that after this correctionary move that first corrected through price and then corrected through time, that it managed to escape the correctionary phase in here while having two outstanding up days, a consolidation day and one final further up day. And since then, it has consolidated those gains. Hasn't really went down too much. It's been correcting both the combination of through price and through time, as we can see within a downtrend for both cases. Now it has had a little over 3 days, but the last 3 solid days staying within this correctionary 18 average, newly rising. So step 1, band flatten out to revert trend. Step 2, establish resistance. Step 3, come back to this band. Step 4 is to break outside above here. And if you're very confident that this thing is ready to go, if you're waiting for that, you're going to be paying over, 2. And right now, of course, the price is in at 16. And that's just a cheaper to buy now. And myself, when you're able to shop around, as they say, which I was able to this morning, you can get good deals. And this was here on the 15-minute time frame, that as this market was breaking out, I was, let me get the exact numbers in which I bought for, which is basically the price it's at now. I bought it after 16.18, and at the time, the other main sites were rising higher, and I had to transfer it. So this is a situation where you could win on the deal, lose on the deal, and that is buy when the market is here at a price here, transfer it from one side to another, which means you're not going to get it till about here. And you could run a situation where you can end up losing, but I don't mind buying at this level. And then I'm seeing now that it's breaking out, and this is something on a short-term level I think is ready to go, as we see on the daily time frame, showing some decent momentum as well. Many of the cryptos doing well today as well. Moving on to this dash chart, and this pattern is getting, I think, nicer and nicer. Situation in here where you resist this previous tested area from, well, a month or so back. And since these resistance areas support here, and I was talking about this before, where it's finding resistance, then it moves up to previous key high and supports where it did before. And now I can see this 3 candle looking to break out of this band right now. So indications that this thing may be ready to go over the next few days, as it looks like it's leaving its correctionary phase. And when we shorten it out to the 4-hour, we can see step number 1 is to revert the trend, make it go sideways, then establish resistance, come back, then break out again. We'll see if that comes into play. Also talking about those failed moves, and when I put a rectangular situation in here for, just ignore that smaller one. It's had a few of these lower tests in here, but you could almost make a case that it pretty much traded within this. You can say that this might be that failed breakdown because it was holding for the most part this level pretty good. And it might be the early stages of a fast move. As far as early term resistance is concerned, on the short term, this number will be key. If it's not resisted or breached, you could have some very big movements. And if it is, I'll be looking for support at really at the lowest down towards, let me just get rid of some of the markings, but previous high. And that would be in here. Ethereum Classic, ETC, next on the horizon, which has just continuation of this sideways pattern. And if there's going to be any short-term move, we've already got established support here at the 60 handle. And breaking about this short-term level, you got the more upper part of this resistance band in at 90 if we shorten the time frame out. It is just as choppy, really, as can be. And these are the type of charts personally that I like to stay away from. So based on the what we see on the daily, just continuation of the sideways movement. I am long on this. I expect it to break its pattern to the upside. And if you're ever in a situation where you think something's going to go up and it's in any type of sideways correctionary move, you're not getting that bad of a price, really. To me, you're buying at a decent time if you're in confidence such, because it's better to be buying at these levels now than waiting for confirmation at prices that are 20% higher if you're that confident. I mean, the risk is if you're wrong, it's going to go lower, doesn't even go here, and you're going to lose. And those who wait for confirmation don't even get it, so they don't even make the bet. But there's always risk rewards no matter when you have your entry point and which strategy you're using. Within Zcash daily time frame, here's a situation where you come back to where you came from. Right now, this is the earlier resistance stage or support stages from before up into this area in here. So like I stated before with the Ethereum chart, it's either setting up the failed breakdown to the upside because, hey, in here I established support in the attempt to revert trend to the downside. So now my next step is coming back to this band here. We have it. If this doesn't even attempt to go down there and price action continues within the band, just like in the Ethereum chart, I'm going to give it the exact same pattern where here you are in this correctionary move, then all of a sudden this little blimp happened. I'll look at failed move, fast move, because the market's telling me here that it's reverting the trend over, and if it fails to do so, well, that's why I call it failed move, fast move. But that was Brian Shannon from alphatrends.net. That's how he was, and he still does today, mention these types of moves. So it's not really my saying. It's from the person whom I learned from in 2007. Let's continue on. NXT is next, and this is really an interesting, easy play or easy read for me, because you've got this noticeable sideways consolidation over several days that the band has been, well, consolidating well. So to me, either one of two things has got to happen. It's either going to have a beautiful break above here, or it's going to retrace. And to me, just quickly looking at it, the 35, even the 3,000 to 4,000 range is where it last came from. I think 4,000 is where you'd be sticking a buy order if you think it's got any type of chance of rolling over. But this does help you for risk reward. If you're buying now and you realize you could very easily take a, 67 down to 40, losing 27, you could take a well over 30-40% haircut if worst case scenario comes in. But we've seen before how this market went from, after resisting the levels in at over 42, going down to 16. And it went from a 42 breakout point to better than double. So if it's going to better than double this breakout point, then maybe you're talking about being well less than 20,000, maybe closer to like 18,000. And that's just a possibility. That's just working numbers out, which is something I like to do, is what did it do before? But at the same point, I also realized that as this thing gets known, each move is weaker. So last time, at least from high to low, we'll say it went from like 18 to 9. That's like 5 or whatever times. So maybe it's going to do 3 or 4 times from this low, and maybe, or whatever. But it's whatever on the break of this resistance, whenever that happens, whatever the high point happens to be, I would expect it to be decently above this high. Also, something to look out for is if it comes up to this point, maybe it's going to do this type of movement in here as well. That's something else that could transpire. And within the Ripple chart, XRP continuation within this sideways movement. If I think this thing go way down here. If it falters, it's had much support tested in this level here. And I still need a little bit for this thing to get going. I'm not going to go long on a break of this resistance. I need a better setup, or at least something in a few days to show me it's worth doing. I'll be more likely apt to wait for a clear indication within this type of resistance area that I'd want to come in for, play on strength, and go for a long position. But right now I want nothing to do with Ripple. And let's conclude this video with New Economic Movement, or XEM, NEM. And this one is really not looking so good. And maybe it's going to work out that it's cheap to buy. I wouldn't buy though. Came back to the support level in here after piercing through in here, but resisting this 18 average band. And until I can get some sort of bullish setup within this point, I need at least, it's got to be a rising, all that type of stuff. You can see in here, not a bad setup, not a bad setup on the break here. Again in here. If you caught this one, congratulations, but this one you have to be fast and good, I think, to get into this point. But all these indicators before the breakouts happen with a rising 18 average, coming from a correction within somewhere on the 18 average of highs, and then leaving it, and then boom, big move. So nothing right now to indicate that's coming in the near term time frame. If this thing breaks down below support, I would have to think that you'd at least come in towards somewhere into this previous level. So thank you for tuning in, and have yourself a magnificent day. Bye-bye.